Hey everybody, it's Party Elite. Welcome you back to our Wetlands Pack DLC showcase in Planet Zoo. Just a quick thing I want to mention right off the bat today, folks, because I actually forgot to mention it during the previous session. I was just very excited to get back into it, I guess. But folks, if you are planning on picking the DLC up for yourself and you haven't already done so, if you use the link I've provided in the description down below, that's a great place to grab the DLC for yourself while supporting the channel. Again, and as always, there's no expectation or obligation or anything like that, of course, but if you were planning on getting it for yourself and you haven't already done so, and you also just wanted to support the channel as you picked it up, then the link in the description down below is what you want to use. You can grab it there and support the channel in that way. With that said, just want to say really quickly, I want to address something actually that came up in the comments of the previous episode, and that is with regards to the European DLC that came out, well, a while ago now. As some of you noted in the comments, and I'm sure many more of you noticed as well beyond that, I never actually got around to building enclosures for all of the animals in that European pack. And that was just because of timing and how things worked out, and it was quite unfortunate, and I was looking forward to building those enclosures. And so with regards to that and regards to your concerns on that front, I just want to let you know that the plan right now for me is that we'll be doing the Wetlands Pack animals enclosures first because they're new and fresh and you know, they're current, I suppose. And then after we're done with this DLC pack, we'll go ahead and get the European DLC pack all wrapped up as well. We have quite a few animals from there to add to this zoo still, so we'll do the Wetlands Pack DLC, then we'll do the European Pack DLC, and then after all that's done, we'll head back to Elite Zoo South and wrap things up there as well, potentially bringing an end to our franchise mode playthrough. Maybe we'll see. We've had a couple of conversations on that front, and I'm sure we'll have many more as we head there. But in the meanwhile, there are plenty of animals to add to this zoo. Again, there's like 7 animals in this DLC pack, if memory serves me right. There are quite a few in the European DLC pack as well, and we're going to be adding all of them to this zoo before we move back to Elite Zoo South and get back to work over there. So I just wanted to address that because it was mentioned by a few of you in the comments, and I just want to say as well, of course, folks, as always, I do read all the comments, so if you have any thoughts, opinions, questions, feel free to share them in the comments down below. Even if I don't respond to them, if I don't get the chance to respond to them in writing, like I didn't get a chance to this previous time, I am still reading them all. So do share your thoughts and opinions, and you'll see me respond to it in one way, shape, or form, whether it's in what I do or what I say or how I approach things. And on that front, actually, a bit of a smooth segue here. It is from the comments that today's folklore has been inspired. A story, a name was shared with me, one that I was rather not familiar with, and that sent me down, this rabbit hole. I learned quite a bit, and so thank you very much for that. Again, I appreciate when folks share things in the comments. It's always interesting, whether it's knowledge or curiosities or whatever it might be, and today's time lapse is the result of some thoughts shared in the comments. I will say today's time lapse is also, I think, maybe the longest time lapse we've ever had. Definitely the longest in recent episodes. I don't think we've had one this long since Elite Zoo North, actually. So it's a hefty one. It's a very hefty one, and partly because the story I'm going to share with you today, so first of all, it has a few variants, and I would like to share 2 of the variants. They're similar, but there are a few differences, hence the term variant. But in either of the variants I'll be sharing with you today, I found that the setting and the moving parts, if you will, were heavily reliant on structures. Like in one, there's a house, or like a rather small house. In the other variant, there's I believe it's a right. So in one version, it's a farmer's house. Another version, it's a woodman's house. Woodsman's house, is that the word? There's a market involved, but it's all very structural and very buildings and stuff like that. And I didn't really want to do anything like that. I kind of want to avoid that in this part of the zoo entirely for this entire DLC pack, if possible. I don't want any construction kind of stuff going down. And you can see, actually, you might be able to tell that at the beginning of this time lapse, I was thinking of doing some construction stuff. And we do have artificial spaces being built here. You can see we're kind of building out a Zen garden over here. But I didn't want to do any like architecture, so to speak, I want to be very careful about what architecture is and isn't when I say that. I don't want to do any buildings there. I think that's the safest way I can phrase it. But anyway, sorry, I digress as I tend to. So rather than try and build some of the spaces that are referenced in the tales I'm about to share, I decided to create a space to meditate upon its messaging and be inspired by sort of Japanese, Zen garden kind of vibes, Japanese temple garden kind of vibes, because that is where this tale comes from. I will say something quite funny that some of you might already know, but in Japanese folklore, there is a tendency for animals, for mischievous animals especially, I think, to transform into gorgeous women and sort of get men into trouble as a result of that, and then transform back into animals and kind of scurry away. I'm being like, I'm condensing what goes down, but that's a very common like trope in a lot of Japanese folklore, and it's quite funny. It's spoken of quite a bit, and I find it rather interesting. Now, this story does involve that kind of transformation. Spoilers, I guess, but it does not involve that kind of mischief. So I just wanted to have that as a little preamble, I guess. Right. So there are two variants that I came across that I want to share. They start similarly, they end similarly, but the middle is very, very different. Well, different enough, not very different. It's different. So the first version that I came across was, well, first of all, called The Grateful Crane. And I believe they were both called The Grateful Crane, and that was in fact the name given in the comments that sent me down this path. So The Grateful Crane is the name if you want to look it up for yourself and you're curious about its how its variants and things like that. The Grateful Crane. So the first version I came across was about a farmer in Japan who one day, while he was, I guess, tending to his fields, came across a crane in the brush, and it was injured as a result of a hunt. It had an arrow lodged in it, and the farmer, who, by the way, very impoverished, barely has any food to feed himself. Yes, maybe there's an irony there because he's a farmer, but it could be a drought or whatever it might be. He doesn't have any food he barely has any food to feed himself, rather. He's very impoverished, and so when he first comes across this crane, sort of pre-hunted, already injured, unable to flee, he thinks, I could take this home, and it wouldn't be a big meal, but it would be a meal. It's something to eat, because it was a younger, smaller crane, I guess. But he decides that this animal's already suffering, and I won't do that. I won't take it home to eat it, but I'll nurse it to good health. So he takes the arrow out, and he helps the crane. I think he feeds it a little bit. He helps the crane, and he goes about his day, and goes about his night as well, I believe, because it's the next day, or perhaps it's the same evening. Again, details a little fuzzy, I apologize. But there's a knock on his door, and he opens the door, and oh, you know what it is? Sorry, I remember now. It was in the middle of the night. There was a knock on the door, and he awoke, and he was terrified at what could be knocking on this farmer's door. He lives in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't get guests or anything like that. He doesn't know anybody. So what could it be? Who's knocking on the door? Is it some malevolent spirit, perhaps? And so he goes. He's terrified, and he opens the door against the middle of the night, and he sees instead this gorgeous woman, and he's completely enamored by her right away. He lets her in. I think she's seeking shelter. He lets her in. He takes care of her, and over the course of some time, I believe some courtship, I guess, they end up marrying, I believe, but they end up together either way. And unfortunately, the impoverished situation of the farmer now is just shared between the two of them. There's only so much like rice to share between them. There's only so much of really anything to share between them, and they're able to sustain themselves on what's left of the previous harvest for some time. But eventually they run out of food, and the farmer, rather ashamed of his situation, he goes to he didn't want to tell his wife. He didn't want to tell this woman what the situation was, because he was embarrassed at his inability to provide. But ultimately he was left no choice. It became a desperate times, as it were, and so he goes to her, and in tears he says, I'm sorry, but I can't. We've run out of food. I can't. There's nothing I can do. I can't support us anymore. But the woman was like, don't worry, it'll be okay. Just give me some privacy. I'm going to go into this other room over here. Give me some privacy, and I have a solution. But the only thing I ask of you is that you don't interrupt me, and you don't look into the room. And the farmer's like, first of all, he's happy because she didn't leave him, and she didn't get disappointed in him, but instead is like trying to offer a solution and work together towards a solution. So he's very happy at that, and he says, of course, sure, and he leaves her be. She's gone for I think the whole day, and when she comes back out, she presents him with cloth out of nowhere. There's some of the finest fabric he's ever seen, and she says, take this to the market and sell it, and then we'll have plenty. And so he goes to the market, and again, it's some of the finest fabric he's ever seen, and he sells it, and it fetches a fine price. He buys tons of food with it, comes home, and they're happy. But of course, as things go, money only lasts for so long until you have to earn it again, and so they run out of money eventually. And she once more says, it's fine. I'm gonna go to that room. Just don't peek. Give me my privacy, and we'll be okay. And once again, the same thing happens. She comes out with some of the finest cloth he's ever seen. And same thing. He goes to the market, sells it, comes back. They have food and everything again. And a third time, they get in the same situation, and she again says, just don't peek, and we'll be fine. But this third time, he can't help himself. He's so confused. He's like, where is this fabric coming from? What's what's going on behind those closed doors that she's able to do this? I need to know. What's the worst that could happen? And so he opens the door up just a crack to take a peek and see how these cloths are being made, how this fabric is being made. And he sees that this wife of his, this woman, is transformed back into the crane that she actually was, and is plucking her own feathers with which to make this fabric. But as he's watching, the crane suddenly glances towards the door. She sees that he's peeking when he wasn't supposed to, and she's taken aback, and I think a little ashamed as well of being seen in this state. And she says, I asked you not to peek, and you did. I can't stay with you anymore. And she flew away. And I mean, you can extrapolate where things go from there. Impoverished farmer, no more cloth to sell. He's lost the love of his life as well. As far as the story goes, he was in love with this woman, but he let his impatience get the better of him, and suffered the consequences. She left him alone. And it's just, I don't know, it's a very interesting, I found it a very interesting story. There was actually, I just realized there were 3 variants that I came across. So that's one version. A second version is pretty much the same, except close to the end, if memory serves me right, close to the end, the man is like, the woman is in a very like almost decrepit state, because she's literally hurting herself to sustain their livelihoods. She's like ripping her own feathers out, and so she's grown weak. She's been hurting herself. And when the man discovers this, the man goes, you know, how come you're doing this to yourself? And the crane says, I'm doing this for us. I'm sacrificing myself for us. And the man states that you know, he doesn't understand, that doesn't make sense to him. And so the crane goes, well, I cannot love someone who doesn't understand sacrificing themselves for the ones they love, and flies away. So slightly different. That one's the one I remember the least, so I apologize if I got that a bit more incorrect, so my apologies, but that was like a slight variant of the first one I read, where she left not because he broke his promise, but because he broke his promise, yes, but also because he didn't even understand the idea of being that kind of selfless, I guess, was the point there. And the third version, I guess, was a crane that a couple helped. This was the woodsman and his wife. A couple nursed this crane back to health. Everything else is the same. Every once in a while, she would like go off into this private room and come out with some of the finest fabrics that they would sell for money. They would spend that money. They'd run out of money. Eventually, I believe the wife in this story got curious and egged the husband on to see what's going on. He takes a peek. The crane is upset, and she transforms back into a crane and flies off because you know, she had one request. Fascinating stories, and they lasted quite long actually. So I hope you don't mind. I hope you enjoyed the tale that came alongside the time lapse today. The tale and the time lapse. I hope you enjoyed it, folks. But that is the time lapse. Back to regular speed. All right, folks, we are back from the time lapse, and that was one of the longest time lapses I have recorded since, I want to say, Elite Zoo North, potentially. A lot of ideas were flowing through my head. A lot of things got done and redone, but overall, I am very pleased with our new space over here. It's actually kind of funny seeing the frame rate on this zoo start to drop as well. Again, for those of you that are not familiar with our approach over here, this has been a zoo full of DLC animals, and DLC animals alone, though it only started with the aquatic DLC. That's why you can see some of the aquatic stuff is kind of central. But since then, so many animals have been added through DLC for Planet Zoo that even this zoo has started to feel the weight of all those animals and are rather, what's the word I'm looking for? Exorbitant approach to design and decoration. I will say really quickly, just to address something I saw in the comments of the previous episode of this mini-series over here, I will be, yes, building the European DLC habitats after the Wetlands DLC habitats are done. I'm well aware that I didn't complete my journey there. Again, lots went down, don't want to get into it. It was a busy time of the year. Those of you that follow the channel are familiar with how things have been for the last handful of months, but we will be coming back. We will be finishing off the European DLC enclosures over here, but first I want to focus on the newest DLC, and after we're done with the Wetlands DLC over here, the European DLC over here, then we'll be going back to Elite Zoo South and completing our franchise mode playthrough. Anyway, with all that said and done, let's go ahead and, well, stay on track over here. This episode might end up being quite long, especially because of the length of that time lapse. But very quickly, just want to sort of, I guess, highlight some of the spaces over here. I've attempted this kind of thing in the past, a long time ago. Again, in the first season of our franchise mode Let's Play. But I feel like this is probably the happiest I've been with a space like this. And again, I feel quite good about that because it's been so long since I've built these spaces. It's been quite a while since we've, you know, played Planet Zoo on the channel. So it feels great to sort of dive right in and feel like I haven't sort of lost the familiarity, I guess, for lack of a better word. But yeah, hopefully you guys like the space overall, and hopefully our inbound animals do too. So let me very quickly over here pop open Zoopedia as we start to go through the entry. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it so that, you know, we're not constantly harassed by like notifications and stuff. By the way, sorry, I want to address another thing from the comments. was pointed out that, actually, rather funnily, it was pointed out that I seem to have forgotten that clean water is essential to get rid of these habitat warnings that we were getting, the habitat cleanliness warnings we were getting, which does seem to be the issue. I did, between sessions, put down a couple of water treatment facilities here and there. I figured that wasn't necessary inclusion. I'll put a few more down later. I just got to find good spots to drop those water treatment plants down. But thank you for pointing that out. On that note, I will also say, yes, I do read all the comments, folks. I continue to read all the comments. I wasn't able to respond to each and every one from the previous session, but I do still read them all as they come through. So if you have any thoughts or opinions or anything you'd like to share, go ahead and leave it down below, and you're guaranteed to have it read, even if, yes, you're watching this video years after it's been released. I am still reading all the comments. Let's go ahead over to our crane, the red-crowned crane, and take a look at its details. Yeah, I'm very unfamiliar with the red-crowned crane, and today's mythos, in fact, that we talked about, and everything surrounding the time-lapse conversation was a result of a suggestion from the comments, in fact. So again, thank you very much for that. It gave me some inspiration to look into. And I'm quite curious about the red-crowned crane, and how much I guessed right and how much I guessed horribly wrong. But let's see. So the red-crowned crane, the Grus japonensis. Grus? I see that, and all I think about is, GRU. Vulnerable, population wild is 2,300 estimated, but that's a very, very low number. I was, wow, okay, that's the first surprise of the day, I suppose. Among the largest of cranes, the red-crowned crane, or Grus japonensis, is a species of wading bird native to the wetlands. It is wetlands, right? Wetlands. Yeah. The wetlands, rivers, and tidal... No Oxford comma. And tidal flats of eastern Russia, China, Mongolia, Korea, and Japan. No Oxford comma there either. Many cranes... Oh, and I just noticed they've got the comma here for the 2300 as well, compared to the period for the, okay, that's very strange. Sorry, I promise not to get distracted by grammar anymore. Many cranes migrate and spend their summer in Russia, China, and Mongolia, and the winter in Korea and China. Japan's population of red-crowned cranes, however, are residents and do not migrate. Oh, very cool, okay. The plumage of red-crowned cranes is white with black tail feathers, neck, and face, as well as a row of black feathers on the wings. They are named for the distinctive patch of bare red skin on the top of their head. Red-crowned cranes stand 5 foot to 5'2" tall and can have a wingspan of 7.3 feet up to 8.3 feet. Wow. They weigh between 10.6 pounds and 23.1 pounds. Males tend to be heavier than females, but sexes are otherwise alike. Cool. Red-crowned cranes are listed as a vulnerable species. In Japan, much of their natural wetlands habitat has been destroyed for human settlement and infrastructure, while many of the areas in China used by migrating populations have been converted to farmland. To protect crane... See, this is where it's like wetlands, but farmland. No consistency. To protect cranes, conservation groups have begun to create habitats for them and study their migration paths to better understand their choice of location. Additionally, captive breeding and reintroduction programs are in place to help bolster wild crane populations. Very cool. Interesting. Yeah, again, I'm very unfamiliar with the red-crowned crane, so that's quite interesting. Little fun fact, little sidebar. I don't remember the exact precise details, but if you look this up, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. But we did not know... like we as in humans, did not know that birds migrated until one year. I forget when, I apologize. But one year, a bird was seen in Europe with an African spear in it, I believe it was. And there was a lot of hubbub about how does this bird that lives in Europe have an African spear in it. It was, attacked... like during a hunt, and you can, again, from the story from earlier, you can tell why I was reminded of this. But right, so this bird, again, native to Europe, was found in Europe with an African spear in it, and people were very confused as to why that happened. And that's what kind of made folks realize that, hang on a second, this specific bird, obviously has been out of the continent so far as to go south into Africa. So what's going on here? And that's kind of where we started learning about migration patterns. I could be, again, feel free to verify me. This is what I remember. This is something I learned many years ago, so my memory's a bit fuzzy. But that's how we came to realize that birds migrate. Again, not all birds, but you know, that's how the conversation started, and you know, the rest is history, as they say. Moving on, though, the natural habitat, again, it kind of highlighted exactly which areas we're looking at. It's kind of interesting. It's like that map of Japan where it's like highlighted red is very different from this map of Japan and where this is highlighted in red. But I'm going to go ahead and say that this is probably the more accurate map, precise map, accurate map. This one's the one we should be looking at. I mean, a lot of these are very different, actually. Like, you can see the size of that red mark there compared to how thin of a sliver it is down over here. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the one we should be considering. So very small, quite disparate ranges as well. I wonder if that's just the result of how you know, settlements have expanded. And over here as well, you can see like a lot of partitions even. You can imagine at one point this used to be congruous, but again, human expansion has split up their ranges, unfortunately. I'm not sure how... Oh, geez. Okay, I had a feeling that they were going to be like flamingos and that you could have a bunch of them in one habitat, in one enclosure. So hopefully we've got... Yeah, I'm sure we've got plenty of space here. I mean, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Aquatic, tundra, taiga, and temperate. Yeah, we should be fine. Okay, I'm glad that I was accurate in my kind of predictions or assumptions, I guess. Group size is 40 to 80, excluding juveniles. That's up to 79 males or up to 79 females. How does... What? Oh, and one of the other, I guess. Male bachelor group size is 4 to 80. Female bachelor group size is 4 to 80 as well. Dominance, none, though mated pairs may defend territories. Wow, okay, interesting. Mating system is monogamous. Relation with humans is neutral, and guests can, in fact, enter the habitat. Beautiful. They are, on average, 5.1 foot tall for males and females alike. Life expectancy is an average of 40 years. Sorry, very big difference there for males and females alike. And then weight also 16 pounds, males and females on average alike. Age of sexual maturity is at 4 years. Sterility is at death. Number of offspring per mating event is 1. Incubation period of 1 month. Okay, very fast. Interbirth period of 12 months. And reproduction in captivity is also difficult. I am glad that these guys have come through first, like that we've added them, you know, sooner rather than later, because then we're more likely to see babies down the line as we add the rest of the animals. Hopefully. Again, we're expecting the same from the platypuses, right? So we'll see. Social needs. Red-crowned cranes may live solitarily or in large flocks. Within flocks, there will be a mix of solitary cranes and mated pairs with or without offspring. They are a sociable species, but will act aggressively towards each other if they do not have enough space. Good to know. Reproduction. Red-crowned cranes are monogamous and generally mate for life. They choose their partner in a courtship ritual called duet, where they perform a synchronous dance. To initiate a duet, a male and female will move towards each other rhythmically until close, and then they may hop, call, spin, skip, bow, jump, beat their wings, move their necks, and strut alongside in a long mimicked sequence. In a flock, one pair duetting is likely to cause other pairs to join in. A pair's dance can occur in different situations and are thought to also play a role in advertising territory, choosing a nest site, and fending off rivals. Close to breeding season in April and May, the female of a pair will choose a nest site and both cranes will build the nest together, generally on flat ground near tall grass. Nests tend to be built from sticks and grasses directly on the ground. Once built, the pair is likely to aggressively defend the nest and territory around it. So, you know, like, you gotta wonder, it says guests are allowed to enter the habitat, but what if, what if a female, or what if a pair, I guess, builds a nest close to like a path? Will they aggressively defend that space like against humans who are in the area too? Like, that doesn't sound very safe. Look at like the size of that beak. Like that could, I'm sure that could kill a man, right? Like that looks like a murder weapon right there. So you got to wonder. I wonder if they like if real world zoos cycle the walk-through enclosures open and closed based on if it's mating season or not. That would make sense to me, I suppose. They will mate 2 to 3 times a day throughout their courtship and during nest building, which takes about a week. After this, the female will lay 1 to 3 eggs, usually 2, and both she and her mate will take turns incubating the eggs over 30 days. Once hatched, chicks are fed and cared for by both parents until they leave the nest at around 2.5 months old, after which they will slowly become more independent and forage for themselves. Offspring will remain closely linked with their parent until they are around 1 year old. In the wild, often only one chick will survive into adulthood. At an age of 3 to 4 years old, red-crowned cranes reach sexual maturity and will search for a partner and appropriate nesting site for themselves. Interesting, very interesting. Again, this is all new to me. I'm very unfamiliar with this animal, so this is very cool. Research status, let's take a look. We've got nothing new as far as their enrichment items are concerned, unfortunately. Again, I've said this time and time again, it would be really nice if you know, every DLC had at least one, every animal had at least one unique enrichment item that was dedicated to it, and it would just, I don't know, I feel like it would like add a bit more to each animal. Then again, I say that all the time, but I also understand that sometimes, you know what, animals share enrichment items and enrichment like behaviors and stuff. So totally understand that there is a real world limitation there. However, I wonder if there couldn't be something unique here for the crane here. On the topic of enrichment items, by the way, if you would like this DLC to enrich your gameplay experience and you haven't picked it up yet, what a segue. If you actually pick it up at the link I have included in the description down below, you'd be supporting the channel as you pick the DLC up. No pressure, of course, but if you'd like to support the channel in a way and get the DLC for yourself at the same time, you can grab it at that link in the description down below. But distractions aside, fun fact number 1, red-crowned cranes have cultural significance in Chinese, Japanese, and Korean myths, attributed with virtues like loyalty, purity, strength, and peace. All right, yeah, that's an all right fun fact. I feel like 90% of the animals in Zoopedia could have a fact like that, which is why I'm less intrigued by it. But I mean, we did use one of those myths as well in our own time lapse today. Fun fact number 2: the mating dances. That was a weird way to say it. The mating dances, called duets of the red-crowned. The mating dances, called duets of the red-crowned crane. Yeah, see that the structure here is right. It should be the mating dances of the red-crowned crane, called duets, are very complex and involve two cranes mimicking each other. While their meaning is not yet fully understood, dancing in cranes is generally thought to express excitement. Yo, this fun fact, this fun fact is literally in the the reproduction section. That's, you know what? So far, I'm a little unimpressed, I'm going to be honest. The platypus ones were 5 for 5, so the bar has been set really high by this DLC, and so far, I don't know, missing the mark here. Fun fact number 3, the red-crowned crane will be highly aggressive towards any animal approaching their nest. Okay, I'm not the only one who sees this, right? Like, that's also, we know that already. That's in this section. Come on, game, come on. Fun fact number 4, red-crowned cranes are the heaviest crane species with record weights measured at 33 pounds. All right, sure. Fair enough. Fun fact number 5, red-crowned cranes can reach an age of up to 75 years in captivity, which makes them one of the longest living bird species. Okay, sure. You know, the bottom 2 are a bit more interesting, I would say. The middle 2 are just, nope. We had those in the reproduction section already under species data, so that's a bit of a cop-out. And 1, I would say, is fine, but it's such a generic statement. It doesn't really hold that much... water. It doesn't hold that much weight when it's so very generic. So, you know, hopefully it gets better from here, because the platypus set the bar really high with its fun facts. Those were amazing. The red-crowned crane is able to share its space with the Japanese macaque. I decided not to do any shared spaces, and I think I will be keeping it that way. Though I guess I could have taken advantage of this here, because it's not like one of the DLC animals would have been, you know, missed out, because this is not a DLC animal. So I guess I could have included them, but I think I'd rather keep the focus on the DLC species specifically, especially as this zoo gets bigger and bigger. Pretty soon, I think the next DLC, when and if it comes, we'll have to actually start a whole new zoo, because this is starting to get quite large, this one. All right, why don't we go ahead and rather up here. I love that these buttons are up here. Genius like move adding these buttons up here. But let's go ahead and get all 4 of these, because we know we need at least 4, right? All 4 of you. That way they'll be happy. We got 2 females, 2 males. Hopefully they'll form 2 mating pairs, and we will be off to the races. Over to manage. Now those buttons, man, they're fantastic. But move you guys in here. The thing is, can they climb the stairs? Even if they can climb the stairs, we should be okay. I mean, unless they make their way... Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and just in case, let's raise this up here. Block that escape route. And let's go ahead and bring Buddy over here as well. I don't think we'll need him. Just in case, let's go ahead and pop you down like that. Maybe something like that. I want to make sure the tree has, you know, is actually like not going through the rock, because that would be rather weird. All right, I think that's good. Let's go ahead and unpause. We got the birds coming through. One thing I will say is I'm not sure if I want to keep this thing. I like the idea. It almost makes us into a what's it called, like a water park. You want to stand under the thing, but it's not. That's not my issue with it. My issue with it is purely visual. It just feels like it does not belong. And I was thinking of making it into a torii gate, but it wasn't, like, the pieces aren't big enough. And I could have built something, but it would have ended up so chunky, and it's bright and red. And it just didn't feel visually right. And it still doesn't, I'll be honest with you. It still doesn't, especially because of the way it sprays out. If it was a straight, like, vertical spray, I think I'd be fine with it, but it's not. It's, I don't know. I feel like it kind of ruins it, you know? I just feel like, yeah, it hurts the tranquility of this space. We already have that sprinkler down there. Let's get rid of that guy. I don't know. Y'all let me know what you think about that. But I feel like it kind of ruins the meditative nature of this space. So we'll get rid of that. But yeah, overall, really pleased with this space. Whoa, a little too low there. I feel like we have a few very nice kind of like angles and spots and areas to check out. And here is our first train. Hey, buddy. Check to make sure they are pleased enough. We didn't do too much. Need a bit more short grass. I was going to say we didn't do too much to actually adjust the terrain or anything. I assumed all this would work out just fine. And it actually kind of does. But we could use a little bit more short grass. So I'm going to go ahead and pop some down over here. I want to make sure... Oh, you know what? Over here, I think we have a lot of soil that we could probably cover. Go ahead and maximize the intensity. There we go. 18, it's going to want 20, I assume. 19 and 20. There we go. Cool. How else are we feeling? Environment. Oh, way too many plants. Way too many plants. I was a little worried about that. It's the kind of space that we wanted to build, so we're going to have to kind of like accept it. But good to know for, you know, actual zoos, like franchise zoos where those all matter. Okay, right. One more thing I do want to check. Oh. These sound really nice as well. I quite like that that call. Sorry, Buddy went straight for the water, so I let that kind of take precedence over what I was going to say. I was going to say I want to... these guys just up top over here, a little scared of the steps maybe. I want to check to make sure that they are able to traverse this space. So far, so good. Are you guys going to come down, or are you going to... Here we go. There we go. Look at that little procession we've got going on over here. That's adorable. This guy's leading them down. It's hilarious. It's almost like giving them the confidence to come down these steps. This is great. I'm so glad we captured that. I'm so glad we captured that before we got to this like weird chimera. That was hilarious. That was beautiful. Oh, look at this. This entire thing is beautiful. This is great. We're all three going to the same spot. Little dance that guy had going on back there. We've got one loner out there off in the distance, so we can clearly see they're able to make it all the way over to there. Good stuff. Alright, let's make sure they're able to reach all their spaces. Habitat. Yep, but they are also able to escape, unfortunately. I don't know if they will. We haven't had an escape in a very long time. How can they actually get up here? There's got to be like one spot where they're able to get up from. And that's what's connecting everything. We'll keep an eye out for it. They're actually able to hop quite a bit. Eh? Those legs get some mileage. They are able to get quite high on some of those rocks and stuff as well. I was not expecting that. I expected the bend of the knee to be rather limiting, I suppose, but I was mistaken. All right, let's enjoy the company of these birds for a little bit, and we'll also keep an eye out for the platypus and see if we get a platypus baby. What a strange swim. It looks almost like labored, you know? Like it's an effort for them to swim. I actually think we got our thumbnail for this episode pretty early on when all three of them were over there taking a look. But I mean, look at this. I'm really quite pleased with this space. I think once it gets even more crowded, can you imagine just having like, I don't know, let's say 10, 15, maybe 20 of these cranes roaming around this massive space? I think it would be a very nice enclosure. I would spend a lot of time at this enclosure. We could even like put a seat down over, like a bench down over here for when they're eating. Foraging on like this little like pool kind of a thing. I'm really pleased with this space. There was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of changing what I was doing, but I'm very pleased with how it's ended up. Where is... Oh yeah, and a little like, if you will, Zen garden using the gravel path. Trying to, you know, respect the concepts as best as I can to the best of my understanding, and create these again spaces for, you could say, meditation or tranquility or yeah, good vibes, to say it generically, I suppose. I feel like the water sounds are kind of off in the distance. You kind of have a little like quiet spot here. Like to me, this is like where you would kind of stand. You get like you get the crane, you know, a guaranteed look at a crane. Obviously, it's a cutout, it's a cardboard cutout, but like the idea of where your space, you know, if you're lucky, you'll see an actual crane. You've got like that light pink in there. You've got some, I don't know. I feel like it's a nice, like it's a nice space. I would enjoy this space. I would sit on this stone and enjoy the company of the waterfall and the cranes and my friends. I like this space quite a bit. I hope you guys like it too. I'm quite pleased. The more I roam and look, the more I enjoy it. Oh, of course. Of course. It wouldn't... I mean, again, now it's official. Now we're officially back to doing Planet Zoo on the channel. It's not real until an animal takes a dump while I'm zoomed in on it. Of course. Of course. Alright, fair enough. Give the buddy some privacy. Do we have... Oh, yeah, look at that. Tucked away over here. Are you stuck? I can't even select you. You're surrounded by all these trees and stuff. No, it looks like they're able to get out. That's good. An inbreeding moose over here. Again, not that it really necessarily matters in this playthrough, because it's just a sandbox for experimentation and stuff, but when I do notice it, and if I can get in the way of it, I like to try at least. Alright, do we have a baby platypus? Or do we at least have these guys entering? Oh, come on, get in there, get in there. Go, 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 go. Hoping I could convince him. Oh. Adina, you're a baby. Oh, we have one in here? Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Oh my god, look at these guys. There's our baby. Oh my goodness. You're tiny. You're tiny, and your eyes look closed. I can't actually select Buddy because we're underground, and I guess the hitbox is blocking it or something, but what an absolute cutie. I mean, you can tell this one's the juvenile because of the size difference. Oh, okay, are you gonna leave? I want to see how the space functions. The way they turned to face each other felt like they were about to kick off some gladiatorial combat there. Where is it? There it is. I imagine they just walk through and they pop out the other end. They don't actually... There's no actual, like, geometry for them to traverse through in there. What an absolute cutie. You are so tiny. And a little fidgety too. Very cute. Alright, this is not your episode though. This is the crane's episode. So I'm afraid I'm gonna have to leave you alone. I'm sure the way they get in and get out is just literally walk through that tunnel there. Alright, you know what? That's the high note we're gonna leave on. What do we got going on over here? Yeah, these guys seem to be having an alright time. I could probably look to get some more in here. Increase our chances of seeing like newborn like chicks and stuff. But yeah, we could do that, I guess. I mean we've got 2 pairs. Haven't bonded yet. No bonding yet, no bonding yet, no bonding yet. Hopefully they bond soon, and then we'll it won't be too long away. But if the going gets tough, we'll go ahead and we'll add some more in. I think again with the platypus we got one within an episode and a half, right? So I don't think we have to worry that much about it being difficult to breed them in captivity. So I think we'll be okay. What's that? Almost wondering if that was a mating situation, but they're not bonded yet, so I don't think so. I don't think so. We were just making a ruckus, alright. You know what? These guys are fantastic. They're absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. I wish I'd kept a track of who the loner was at the beginning, and then we could just see if they stayed a loner all the way through, or if it was that was just like at the beginning. But folks, I think this is where we'll call it a session. Do quite like this as our thumbnail as well. Maybe we got 2 to pick from. But this is where we'll call it a session either way. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed the extra long time lapse today. If you did, you know what to do. Let me know down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. As always, it makes a massive difference. Just letting me know what y'all are interested in seeing on the channel. It really helps support the channel as well. As I said last time, again, after a long break from a certain type of content, likes and comments do help extra because of how YouTube works. But in general, always likes and comments help me just get an understanding of what people want to watch on the channel. Let me know, of course, what you're thinking and stuff as well, because I do read the comments again and always. Even if I don't get a chance to respond to them, I will read the comments and I will keep them in mind as I move forward. If you have any particular animals you would like to see in future builds sooner rather than later, let me know down below again. I will, of course, keep all that in mind as I make my decisions. I'm really pleased with this space. There are just so many viewing angles that work rather nicely. Have the right feeling, the right vibe, you know. Oh man, really pleased with this. Really pleased with this. And I hope you were too, folks. As always, this zoo is big. Normally I wait to like get up to here before I pull that credit screen on you, but that took longer than it normally does. This zoo has been getting extremely large. Folks, as I was saying, as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big ol' thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.